Welcome to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Gyrl Mitchell-Lewis. Thank you all for joining. Happy Thursday. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you're having a great week so far. Today, I'm really excited. I have a great guest today. So I'm going to be joined by speaker and coach Louise McMilan. Louise is a raw and relatable speaker and coach who supports and inspires people to join the conversation about mental health, breast cancer, and also she really encourages you to live life to the fullest and to thrive right now, because we all know that life happens really fast. Life is life, and y'all. I think I say this all the time, like life is lifing, life comes at you fast. It is like time is like that. And I did snap my finger, but she really encourages you to thrive in your life and to live your best life and to be the best version of yourself. By Louise's own admission, she has lived with limiting self-belief and a lack of self-confidence for the most of her life, causing her to spiral in and out of depression. It really took a diagnosis of breast cancer in 2017 to help her change how she viewed herself. Louise says that she has been through the fire and received the most valuable lesson of all: start living the life that she wants. So, I don't know about you, but I'm fired up just from like telling you about her and the fact that she's coming up. But I definitely hope you all will stay tuned, because we'll be right back. We'll talk about her journey, and we'll talk about ways that she can give you some tips on how to start thriving in your life right now. So stay tuned. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Gyrl. Thank you all for joining. I'm so excited to welcome Louise into the Glow Up Girl podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me along, Gyrl. It's lovely to meet you.
Awesome. Well, why don't we get started by having you tell our audience listening or watching who you are and what you do.
So I'm Louise McMilan. You might have guessed from the accent that I'm over in England. So I'm over in the southwest of England by the seaside. I'm an inspirational speaker. So I talk about my personal experiences with mental health and how breast cancer was the best thing that ever happened to me. And I'm also a personal development coach. So I work one-to-one with individuals and with people in organisations just to help them live life more fully on their terms.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Louise. Why don't we get started? Let's talk about your breast cancer diagnosis. Would you be willing to share how that came about?
Absolutely. Because I didn't find a lump, and neither did my GP, and neither did my consultant. So I'm very blessed that they did the test to be on the safe side. So how it started was I noticed a discharge on my left breast. It was like on my pajama top. So it's a bit like a dry, wet mark. And it happened a few times. So I decided that that was a bit strange. So I got it checked out. My GP examined me, said didn't think there was anything untoward, however, would refer me to be on the safe side. Saw a consultant. He examined me and examined both breasts, I would add. Both of them did. Said couldn't think there was anything untoward, however, would give me a mammogram just to be on the safe side. I had a mammogram and then was invited to a ultrasound. And when they did the ultrasound, they said there was something strange on my right breast. So I queried. So they did the ultrasound all over again, because obviously it was my left one. And they took a biopsy, and I still didn't think anything of it. And then a week later, I was invited in. They said they had a cancellation at the hospital, and I went in and they said they detected cancer in my right breast. So they don't know what the discharge was from my left. Still to this day, we don't know why that was happening, apart from it trying to tell me that my right breast, there was something wrong with it. They thought that it was 25 millimeters and stage 2. And I had a lumpectomy the following week. And as soon as they opened me up, they knew it was bigger. It was 45 millimeters. They'd removed 3 lymph nodes, and the cancer had spread into 2 of those lymph nodes. So therefore I was stage 3, and they classified my cancer as being very aggressive. So I had to undergo chemotherapy, and have go through that process, as well as having my lumpectomy.
Wow.
Yeah, total shock to the system. We weren't expecting it at all. So as you can imagine, we were just, when we were first told, just totally shocked.
Yes, I could only imagine. Louise, as you were experiencing going through this journey, what was like the total like time period as far as like when you found out to, treatment? What was that time period?
Oh, absolutely quickly. So I had the ultrasound and the biopsy, and on I think it was like the Monday or the Tuesday, and the following Monday I was told I had cancer. The following Monday I had all the pre-op done, so that the wire had to be put into my breast to where the tumor was, which was quite painful, and I also had to have radiation put into my breast as well, ready for the operation. And then the following morning I had my lumpectomy. So the 12th of June was when I was told, the 19th of June pre-op, and then the 20th of June was surgery. And then the 5th of July, I was told that the outcome from my lumpectomy, which told me that the cancer was everywhere else. And then I started chemo literally on the 20th of July. So the 19th of July, I had a PICC line put into my arm, and the 20th of July was my first chemo. So it happened so quickly. From there going on.
Wow. Whoa. So if let's talk about the obviously we can understand the physical side of it, but like the mental side of it, the mental health perspective. What were you going through during that time period? How did you feel?
Well, I actually, to be honest with you, the best thing to talk about is probably like 6 months beforehand. So this is end of 2016, the December, my doctor had diagnosed me with depression. I was in a really bad way with my mental health. I was burnt out. I hadn't been looking after myself properly. I had spiraled. So I knew I wasn't feeling great, but instead of being conscious of it, I was pushing it back, saying, no, this is not happening. And therefore I spiraled into a really, really deep depression. So much so that over that Christmas, my doctor had increased my medication. I'd taken some time between Christmas and New Year off, and was staying with my parents. And the only person I was really talking to about it was my mum. And I just said, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep spiraling in and out of depression. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know my purpose in life. I even said to her, I don't even know what the point of me being here is. I really question why I wanted to be on this earth. I was that low with my depression. And so 2017, my mum and I were very much about, let's just take it month by month, and just try and repair myself. And then when I was in a better position, and I knew I probably would be around about that springtime, that's then perhaps when I could start making some better long-term goals about what it is I want to do and where I want to be, and the impact of work and everything having on me. So that was my goal for 2017. So when this happened, it was completely out of the blue, but it was a big wake-up call for me to turn around and say, this is not going to kill me. I am going to live. I'm going to get over this. I named it as soon as I left that hospital, being told, I named my cancer Stan. I don't know why, I just had this thing about naming it. And then I named the cancer that was in my lymph nodes, so Cyril and Sydney, I say, was parting out of my lymph nodes. And I think from then on, I just tried to find the way of dealing with it. Now, I was the first person in amongst my family and friends to have breast cancer. My dad had cancer, and my auntie and my dad's parents had cancer, but a different type of cancer. And when they were diagnosed, they were in their 60s. So I was only 44 at the time. So it was a little bit of a shock to all of us. And I just thought, this is the first time I've ever done something in my life that nobody close to me has done. So they can't tell me what I've got to do, how I've got to do it, how I've got to think. So whilst people tried to, it was a bit like a revelation to think, actually, no, this is the first time ever I'm going to do it my way, because nobody's done it before. So that kind of helped me find that resilience. Yes, I was scared, and I was in shock, but I just went along with what my oncologist and the medical professionals were telling me this is what was going to happen, and I didn't question it. I was like, right, okay. And actually I found it in some respects a little bit easier, and which is why I say it's the best thing that happened to me, than having depression, because they tell you all what's going to happen with the medical journey. They tell you the side effects for all the medication. They tell me roughly how long it's going to last, how long the pain will last post-surgery, how long I'll feel with when I have the chemo and everything else. Whereas when I was in depression, I didn't know how long it was that episode was going to last.
Yeah.
So this was this was kind of a little bit different, but it gave me a lot of strength. And everyone kept saying to me, you're handling this better than I thought you would. And I think until you're in that situation, you don't know how you're going to handle it.
Right. But it's for you, I mean, you could choose to stay down and continue to spiral, into like deeper depression, or you could choose to fight and live. And you chose to fight. And I think there is something like very awesome about naming the cancer, because it's like there was a firm line drawn in the sand that you were like, I'm going to beat you, Stan, I'm going to win.
Absolutely.
And I think that's pretty amazing. So I definitely admire your strength and your resiliency to push through, because it couldn't have been easy to, have been already just battling, dealing with, your own, like with mental health issues, and just trying to get, because you essentially said at the end of the year, like, I'm going to be better next year. I'm setting these goals. And then here comes this other like thing, right? Like cancer's like,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a bit like it was like a little bit of lesson. It was the kick up the bum that I needed. The reality check to say that we all know that life is short, but actually in reality, life is fast. That's what life is fast. It goes by fast. And that was the kind of wake up call to say that I could keep spiraling. And because it happened so many times, over decades of my life where I was spiraling out of depression, it was like, I feel like something was telling me, I'm going to give you a big lesson here to show you how brilliant and how resilient you are, and you can achieve things, and you can live your life how you want to live it, rather than listening all to the naysayers in your life, or all the nitpicking and the derogatory remarks that you kind of get, that you kind of then don't feel like you are you, if that makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, for sure. So you also had a bout with appendicitis at the same time. All right.
I know.
So because appendicitis, like it comes on very quick, right? Like
absolutely.
So tell us about that.
So literally a week after my first chemo, I started to get a stomach ache. And I thought perhaps it was something that I'd eaten to start off with. I'm a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian since I was 18 years old. But I've got to be very careful sometimes when I'm eating mushrooms. Sometimes they can affect me. And I just was like, have I been eating mushrooms? It was that kind of feeling. And I carried on for a couple of days, and I spoke to the urologists, and they were saying, well, you haven't got a temperature, so it's fine. There's no reason for your chemo to have side effects. So I kept on going. And it must have been a good 10 days with this rumbling that all of a sudden I was at home on the Sunday. I wasn't feeling great. And the TV channel had changed. I programmed it to change channels for something I wanted to watch. And I paused it to get a glass of water. And when I came back in, all of a sudden I was like, my body got into a bit of a spasm. It was really hard to describe. And I thought, I don't think I ought to be alone. So I phoned my mum and dad and said, I think you ought to come and get me. I don't feel great. I'm sitting on my doorstep in absolute agony. They seemed to be taking ages, because obviously they were. My dad was trying to put his shoes on and get the car out. And I got myself up and I walked to the end of my drive just as my nephew arrived. He was visiting with my mum. And I said, I think you ought to take me to the hospital. This doesn't feel right at all. Oh, you don't know your own pain threshold? Because I've not had children, so I wouldn't know my own pain threshold. Totally dismissed the absolute agony as I was in. And so we just need to perhaps wait and see your oncologist. You're seeing him on Tuesday. On Monday, I was driving to work and my gut feeling had said, turn around. So I turned around, got a point with my doctor, who said, if you come to me with just this, I would say it was appendicitis. Got me straight into hospital. They did some tests and they said I got borderline peritonitis. My appendix had burst, but was now in an abscess. Oh my gosh. Which was now stuck to my bowel and my colon. My consultant, actually was the original consultant I saw, just said to me, you are not at all well. You are a very, very poorly young lady. He said, I'm going to try and do keyhole in the morning and operate on you. If not, I might have to open you up. They tried to do keyhole. It didn't work. They had to do major emergency surgery. So I've got a huge scar down my stomach, about a 6-inch scar. Wow. I was in intensive care for 48 hours, blood transfusion. My hair is now falling out because obviously from the chemo. So yeah, and when I saw my doctor, my actual doctor, I hadn't seen my actual doctor. I'd seen another doctor at the surgery. When I saw him about 6 weeks later, he turned around and said that had had the abscess burst, I would have had a bigger fight on my hand than cancer, because I would have ended up with sepsis. So,
my God.
So it was like, if I thought that this was too easy, this was another little thing in my lesson to realise that, you know, if it hadn't quite hit me that cancer wasn't big enough to turn around and tell me I had to change my life, the appendicitis was going to do that lesson as well. So so my whole cancer journey was put on hold, because obviously I had the infection in my wound a week after, so I had to have a vacuum pack on it. So yeah, I've lost the whole of August basically at that point. And so I could do anything, and I couldn't drive again or go back onto my chemo journey to about the end of September. So it was a real big, and I'd never been poorly before. I'd never been in hospital since I was 18 months old. So I didn't really, it was a real wake up call. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So physically, we know how you're doing at this point, but mentally, how are you just continuing to push through and to fight? Because this was tough. I mean, you were getting ready to go through, you were going through chemo. You were thinking you had made the turn, and then this happens.
Yeah. The thing that happened, I remember it so vividly. I was in hospital and it was a Sunday evening. My parents had come in to see me, and during those couple of days, when my mum had come in, I'd had cards been sent to me. I had messages coming through, not just from friends that I was that were in my life currently, if that makes sense, but also ex-work colleagues that I hadn't heard from for about 10 years, had heard from the grapevine. You know, when you have friends that know friends that know friends kind of thing. And I remember sitting there and saying to my mum, people do like me. I'm actually liked. And my mum said, of course you're liked. Of course people like, why did you not think that? And I didn't. I literally, my inner voice, who I call Tina, or Cretatina, so it's Tina for short. It's like she always used to tell me that people used to tolerate me. People just used to put up with me. I never, that my whole thing of all what I experienced growing up, being put down, and the snide comments and the nitpicking, and, people try and say, well, they're just comments. But when people say them often enough, or they come from different places,
right? Yeah.
You kind of think, well, they must be true, because if you hear them often enough and they come from different sources. So that was a real eye-opener for me, and that really helped. And and also the nitpicking and the derogatory remarks stopped as well when I went through the whole of this. I mean, they started again, and now I'm managing better my expectations, my boundaries, how I spend time with people that nourish me, not deplete me. That's been the whole learning curve that I have now and what I do. But I probably might not have been there had it been for my cancer and my appendicitis journey, because that was the lesson I learned. And because of that, I realised I could be me. And that's where I just thought, no, I'm going to be silly. I'm going to be daft. And I named my pit line Penny. I named my wig Winifred, not that I ever wore it. I found the strength to be bold, even though people were saying to me, oh, I don't think you ought to be bold. I thought, no, I'm going to do this my way.
Yes.
So I was bold. And it just gave me that strength to carry on and just fight it that way. It was like, I realised my body can repair itself. I have to learn how to repair my mind and my thought process and my mental health.
Oh my gosh, I love that, Louise. It's so awesome to hear, because you finally realized that you were loved, that people cared about you, that people wanted to see you win. And I think that there's just, like you said, it's the biggest lesson that, you took away, but it's also just so great because you were lifted up by your community and people in your family and community of people. And like you said, there's something to like coworkers from the past that maybe people you didn't talk to regularly, but those people learning that you were ill and just reaching out, putting a hand out there to let you know that they cared. And all that just silenced what I like to call the inner mean girl.
Yeah.
Just told the inner mean girl to sit down, shut up, because because I am loved. And it is something important to, I think you said a really important thing, and that is something I think, especially for women, that we have to focus on spending time with people who pour into you, people who nurture you, and stop giving people like negative people, because what our inner mean girl doesn't allow for us to recognize is that those people are unhappy. Those people have their own struggles. So they're just being nitpicking and being rude and making comments. They're just letting their insecurities, just pouring them onto you because they feel bad. So they want you to feel bad too, in hopes that you could just feel bad together all the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're so right there. It's their own insecurities and how they're feeling about whatever that may be, and have to bring you down or make them feel better by putting you down. Absolutely right.
Yes, and they just work to try and dim your light, because just in talking to you, like I see a light, I see a person who is just like so pleasant, a person who gives love, a person who cares about other people, and just, and it's like, and somebody that's mean and just like, rude, just wants to try to cover that. So, I think your story is amazing. So many people out there wouldn't have been able to like keep pushing and be so resilient. And you did that. But then at the same time, like you said, you repaired and you made yourself whole. You healed in a number of ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you.
So as you're going through this, and what, from a professional standpoint, obviously you had a job, you had a personal life, you had a life. How did this impact those different areas of your life as you were beginning to heal and also just change and be a new Louise?
Absolutely. So my background is HR, and been doing it a long time, and so it was kind of like, I had a career break then. So I literally started a new job because I was on a contract. So I finished in the March and I started a new job just as all this was, I didn't even know when I started the new job. And we had a plan how we were going to deal with the cancer. But then when I had the appendicitis, they looked at things, because I didn't know when I could drive again. And it was they're a good hour and a half drive away. There was no home working back in those days. And so I had this career break. And then when I started going back into a new job afterwards, I went back part-time. My doctor said, I can send you back, but I know you'll go from 0 to 100 miles an hour straight away.
Yeah.
If I was in a workplace, I would have gone back on a phased return. I didn't have that luxury. So he would only sign me back to work if I could find a part-time job. And I was fortunate enough I did. But I could feel the tension rising. Just, the whole feeling not good enough, feeling that I was, not appreciated. I could just start feeling some of the anxieties rising. And there was one morning when I was getting ready for work, and I had this quote on the side, and it was kind of only a small, well, not even a 6 size quote size, if you know what I mean. It was, and it says on there, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And this particular morning, it was like huge. It was literally screaming out at me. And on my drive to work, I thought, that's it. I'm going to come away from HR. I'm going to come away from recruitment. I trained and qualified to be a coach, a life coach, a few years beforehand. That I'm going to follow that. That's, I keep coming back to, that's what I want to do, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out there, and I now know how I'm going to help people. I'm going to help people start believing in themselves, start living life more fully on their own terms. Be that kind of cheerleader to around, so you can do this. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to help you break down what it is that stops you and help you live life more fully in whatever it is you want to do. If nobody else around you is going to say, go for it, then you can count on me, because look at this as your kind of your person. And that's what I decided I was going to do. And that's the path I've kind of followed since then. So a whole career change, but also doing things for me, working for myself and managing that time and how I work. And yeah, that's the way I've kind of gone through.
Awesome. I love that, because first of all, I just love that, like, you recognize the signs and that you didn't just go back into, like, doing the same and saying, like, letting those same sort of like past ghosts or demons come back and like take over again. But and then you also just took like a leap, like you believed in yourself and what you had to offer to the world and how you could help other people. And you took a very bold step, because a lot of people wouldn't have been able to do that. A lot of people would have said, nope, I mean, I know that I'm good at HR. Like, this is my career. I don't want to, let's not shake this, don't rock this boat.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the thing for me beforehand. It was, I've always known a career HR, and I'd worked so hard, and I was, professionally qualified, and why would I want to give that up after working so hard? But it was that thing of, it no longer serves me. It no longer nourishes me, is depleting me, and I need to now recognize that and change.
Yes. Do you hear that, everyone listening, watching? That is so true, because there's so many people out there in this world today who are experiencing that similar thing, where people are towing the line. They want to step over. They want something better for themselves, but they don't know if they can take that leap, because, of course, we've all got bills to pay. We have to take care of ourselves. But, walking in purpose, when you walk in the purpose, it will all fall into place. But I think you said, or sometimes you've got to experience, like, you've got to experience some things, some hardships. You've got to get to the thing that's like, to get to the end. Because I think there comes more appreciation for where you are, where you land, versus, the easy road. Even though we all, like, let's just be real, we all want to get to that thing like very easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just, what would you say to someone who may be sort of in that limbo and they're like,
the two things to do is just perhaps not take the big leap, but what you can do is perhaps do your role part-time and start small. So bite-size changes. So you still have that comfort and that knowledge that you're still getting money coming in to pay the bills. And if you're able to do something, you know, reduce your hours or condense your hours or find another role which is the same as what you do but is pro rata, you can so you can still earn the money, and then you've got that part-time bit to starting your new life, if that makes sense. And then at some point the shift will change where you go, oh, actually I can do this, or it opens a door to somewhere else. You know, even if it's within the same employer, to see if there's a secondment you can do whereby you can still, you know, for 6 months go and try something new in the organization and still then come back to your role if your organization offers that. So it's trying to think outside the box of what you can do. And you know, if I mean, you might be fortunate to be in a relationship, so you and your partner might be able to come up with an idea of how they can support each other. And I think sometimes if you're on your own, you kind of that leap is even harder, because everything is on your shoulders. And everything is on my shoulders. I am on my own, but it is that kind of, I can say to you, just you find the courage, you know, and at the end of the day, you can always go back to doing what you were doing before and then try again later. It's not the end. You know, for me, I realized I didn't go through cancer and didn't go through my appendicitis journey to go back to what I was doing before, you know, because otherwise what was the point of going through it? So I had to make the change, and life is fast. And if we don't keep moving, then we'll always stay where we are. And, you know, that's not a great place to be if you're not happy with where you are.
Love it. Y'all, mic dropped by Louise. Awesome. Well, can you tell us about the programs you offer and how those listening and watching could reach out to you and work with you?
Yeah, so I have 2 different coaching programs. So I have what I call the Living Life More Fully program. This is more intense. It's 8 sessions, and we go through 6 different elements of that, which is all about embracing your uniqueness. You know, what energizes you and nourishes you. You know, we explore your experiences, because people say don't look back because you're not going that way. I'm a believer that we look back to take a snapshot to see how far we've grown, and also look at the great things we did when we were younger, what stops us now. We look at boundaries and emotions, and all about enriching your tribe. So that's the Living Life More Fully program. And then I have my cheerleader package, which is literally, you know, coaching sessions once a month or twice a month if you want to split them down into half an hour. And it's really just, what is it you want to achieve? You know, it's as basic as that. You know, if you're someone that wants to buy your first house on your own, and you've got people around you kind of going, oh, I don't think you ought to, and you just want that encouragement, then that's what I do. If you want to do that step change, if you want someone just to bounce ideas off of, and you just want that coach each month that's going to say, right, okay, what are we doing this month? How do you want to do it? Let's find out what's stopping you. I don't tell you what to do. I just answer you the questions. But I am that person where you can send me a WhatsApp message or a text message that say, I've just done this, and it can be the minute little thing, but I'm definitely going to be doing a woohoo down the phone to you and saying, oh my God, this is brilliant and I love it, and just be that support. So that's the kind of coaching, the 2 coaching packages that I offer.
Awesome. And tell us how the audience can connect to you.
So you can connect with me on Instagram. My page is Louise McMilan. That's my name, and also LinkedIn. And also you can always check out my website as well.
All right. Awesome. All right. So we're going to move into 3 things with Louise. I'm going to ask you 3 questions so the audience just gets to know you even a little bit better. So the first thing is a 2-parter.
Yeah.
How do you start and how do you end your day?
So the start of my day is all about exercise. And I do a 7-minute exercise on YouTube. There's a lovely lady called Lucy Wyndham-Reed, and she does lovely 7-minute bite-sized sessions, which is a really good way to start. And then the evening I wind down by reading a fiction book. So I always go to bed and I put my mobile phone away at 8:30. My mobile phone goes away. So I'm very disciplined about taking time off from technology, and it's all about reading fiction so I can kind of escape, and I read my book in bed. That's
awesome. I love that. Number 2 is, if you're a goal or an intention setter, what's one thing you've set for yourself this year?
I have done. Mine is all about being more visible, and that's for my business as well, but also in my personal life instead of shying away. I want to go out there and meet new people. So it's being visible, of joining different groups. I've gone back to help with Girl Guides, which I think you call Girl Scouts in America. I used to run a Girl Guide unit years ago, and I was very heavily involved as a child. I've gone back to helping them to meet new people, help the next generation. So yeah, it's all about getting out of the house.
Love that. And the last thing is, what's a book or show, podcast, or anything that you're just loving, like watching, reading right now?
There's a couple of podcasts that I am mixing between the two. There's one called Purpose People from a good friend of mine in the UK, and there's one called Diary of a CEO, which has got quite a few famous people in there being interviewed, as well as just some regular people that are really good at what they do. Awesome.
Love that. All right. Well, Louise, thank you so much for joining today. I really, really enjoyed this conversation, and you are so resilient, and you're awesome.
Thank you, Kyra. Lovely to meet you.
I love it. I love it. And I just, I'm so thankful we have people like you to share their truth and to talk about their journeys. And I mean, it's like a full circle moment in hearing your story. And I love that you are so willing to now share that with other people and help other people on their journey.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So before I let you go, what are 3 things you would like the audience to take away from our conversation today?
So 3 things would be: 1, choose what nourishes you, not depletes you. 2, it's not selfish to do what is right for you, and trust your gut instincts. If something doesn't feel right, if it's something in your body or a feeling about something, then trust your gut instinct, and also get your body checked out if you think there's something wrong. Be my 3 things.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, Louise. All the success to you in the future, and you can always come back here and share with the Glow Up Girl podcast in the future.
Thank you so much. We're lovely speaking to you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Kyra. Did I not tell you that was going to be a great conversation? Louise, thank you so much for joining. So inspiring, and what a journey. I mean, I just think like, wow, a lot of times when we just get inconvenienced by something like small, like traffic happens, something in your house stopped working, a day at work, didn't go well. I mean, and to think, Louise was going through breast cancer and going into chemo, and then having to deal with appendicitis and just all the complications that came with that part of her journey. So if you want to learn more about Louise and her story, her services that she offers, check out the links in our show notes. If you'd like to learn more about Glow Up Girl, you can visit us at glowupgirl.com. You can check out past podcast episodes. You can sign up to be a guest on the show, grab the social links, and so much more. Also, you should be checking out, if you're not, our career series, which is our career-focused podcast episodes where I share personal experiences from my career journey. Also, just some insight, tips, tricks, things that you can try as you go throughout your career journey. Also, if you are listening on a platform where you can leave us a review, please do so. If you got thoughts, questions, show ideas, guests that we should be talking to, feel free to drop an email at hello@glowupgirl.com. As always, I cannot thank you all enough for your support and joining me weekly on this journey, where I get to talk to so many amazing people doing awesome work in the world, and also sharing that on that career side, which is something that is really meaningful to me, is to talk about being hopefully a good leader in this thing we call our career. So until next time, I will see you all next week. So until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.